I was going to be done or not. I just felt that we had a few more to go. I know it's getting close to Christmas time, and everybody wants the pastor to do the Christmas messages and kind of go that route. So we'll see where it goes. So we're going to continue in this Known series. I'm going to be speaking out of James chapter 5 and Galatians chapter 6. So if you guys want to write that down, that's where we'll be. So this week, as I was preparing for this message, my wife kind of busted me on reading an article. And I say busted because she took a look at the article and she looked at the title and she's like, really? Like, why are you reading an article that has anything to do with that? Aren't you supposed to be working on your message? And she just kind of gave me this look, right? This look. Do you guys know this look, right? The wife look of, like, really? And I'm like, I'm just doing some research on my message, and she's like, that is just not appropriate. You can't talk about that at church and stuff like that. And you're the pastor and you have to be right. And here's the title of my message, the title of the article I was reading that she was kind of giving me this look. And here's what it says. Apparently people who fart in front of their partner are more likely to have lasting relationships. Now, why would a guy like me, right? Why would a pastor be reading a message like this? And why, I have a wife, my wife, you guys all know my wife. She's a very proper woman, and I'm talking about, and I'm reading articles on farting. And I have a few reasons, and here's one reason is I find farts extremely funny. The family I grew up in, farts are just a part of it. It's like Christmas all the time. At the house, you never know what present you're gonna get. But at my parents, apparently what? My laughter, and it comes to farts. So my wife and I, we just celebrated 13 years of marriage, right? We were 13 years together, and we were even longer than that as a couple. And thank you, at least one person clapped. Appreciate that. Somebody likes it. And so we have this 13-year anniversary, and we're still having funny conversations. We have this back and forth banter. So we're this article I'm reading, she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, really. Like, it's kind of funny. Like, listen to this, And I'm reading her the article, and she's just rolling her eyes at me like, you're crazy, And that's marriage. That's how it goes. I mean, honestly, we're talking about a series about knowing, and here I am standing in front of the camera, out on Facebook. What better way than to have our church known about, a pastor that stands up here and talks about farts? That's just going to go around the whole community, and it's going to be like, hey, that church over there, they talk about flatulence and farts, and, what a better way to be known, right? Funny? Laughter? No? You guys don't share my humor as much. So, let's just go. And secondly, the other reason is it fits right into this series. Being known. All aspects of our lives and how we are known, we have a human desire to be known. So wouldn't bodily functions be something that should be known? Don't get me wrong, all right? I'm not standing up here today. I'm not standing up here saying, hey, just let it fly. I mean, have some respect for your neighbors. Right? They may not know you that way. Maybe they don't want to know you that way, but let's be real. All of us here have wives. We're all married and had them or whatnot, and we have relationships. But what we do is this. In truth, I think we approach this known idea by just wanting to show off our best self. Mainly because if we just show off those parts of ourselves, then we could really be known the way we want people to know us. So if we hide all of our bad stuff and we just show all the good stuff, that's how we want people to know us, right? I mean, if you really think about it, when you do like a resume, right, for a new job, what do you put down? You put down all the good stuff. I did this, I accomplished this, I changed this in the company that I was at previously. I am so good at my job, and here's all my accomplishments and all my good things. And we don't ever say about all the bad stuff. Right? And you get hired by the job, and then they're like, well, I didn't know you were that way. Ever get kind of like that or whatever? But what do is we hide this darker side of us, right? Because we want everybody to know all about us. And here's why, right? It's scary. It's the scary side of our lives when we start sharing that dark side. We'll do a Star Wars reference. We show the dark side of our relationship, the dark side of who we really are. What do we worry about? What people really think of us. Judgment. Right? We even do this during, I am guilty of this one here at church. Worship time. Right? And you get the songs going, and you get your arms up, and you're praising. I used to be this guy. This was my worship stance. All growing up, Christian, loved Jesus, and my worship stance was this. You know, and now it's freedom, and it's free. And the biggest reason why I was this, I was worried about everybody behind me seeing me raise my hands and being judged. Look at how he's dancing. Look at how he's moving. Like, no, right? I was so scared of people looking at me. Oh, he's doing it wrong. I got to talk to that guy. He's just doing it all completely wrong. And then one day, I put my hand up. Just a little bit. Nobody said anything. So I was like, okay, I can go a little higher the next time. Right? Still nobody said anything. And then I get all the way up, and nobody says anything. And then I put both hands up. My wife says, put your arms down. Whew. No. We worry about judgment and what everybody else thinks about us. So we start hiding all of this stuff. And this is a simple thing. This is about worship. And we just, people are going to judge me. And that's a simple thing. Think about the big things. The struggles you're having with your wife. Maybe the struggles you're having with your kids. Maybe the struggles you're having with life in general. I mean, right now we're coming into the holiday seasons, right? How many of us struggle?
It's messed up.
It's wrong. Like, we're supposed to be celebrating and happy. I mean, we just had Thanksgiving. What's the definition of Thanksgiving? Joyfulness, being happy, excited, and being thankful. And we go, oh, my family doesn't want to. COVID, my family can't. And we look at everything bad and everything horrible. And we forget about all the good stuff. And then you have Christmas come along, the day that we stand and we celebrate in America the birth of Jesus Christ. And we get all undepressed. Because I look at everything negative and everything bad, and I worry about, that's where judgment comes from, is all your negative thinking. I have no idea where I'm at in my notes. Because I have no idea what I'm even saying. So anyways, personally, I've heard this response more than I care to hear. And here's where I'm going to go. Is in conversation with people, and you go up to people and you say, hey, how you doing? What's a typical Christian response to that? Hey, how you doing? I'm doing great. I am totally... Fine? No. Close. Thank you. Blessed. Right? You ever hear that one? Like, I am so blessed. Like, God just loves me. Does all these great things. I'm going to tell you right now, that's a cop-out. It's a cop-out. And I'm going to go there. It's like, you can be blessed beyond measure, don't get me wrong. But it is such a cop-out when all you go to people and say, I'm blessed, I'm blessed, I'm blessed, I'm great, everything's good, everything's great. Where's your relationship stand? It sits in the pit of a lie. Because I can tell you right now that everybody that I've talked to, I shouldn't say everybody, most of the people that I've talked to who come up and say that I'm blessed, their life is a mess and a wreck. Yes, they're focusing on the blessed aspect, and I get that. But I'm talking about being known, right? Digging into being known about who you are. Showing with people who you truly are. And if you are blessed the entire time, then you are just copping out into being like, I'm going to show you all the good stuff about me and forget all the bad. How are you supposed to be known to your neighbor, to your people, if you're just going to give them everything good? Right? Because the second that you bring something bad, they're going to be like, whoa, what is that? Where'd this come from? And they'll be like, I don't ever want to talk to you again. Right? Because you're going to blow up. It's just like holding in a fart. You hold it in too long, and what happens? You're going to explode. It's a scientific proof. Go look it up.
Wait, you can explode?
You can explode.
Just him.
Just me. But think about it this way. You keep holding in all of your stuff, eventually you're going to explode. And then people are going to be like, you're a Christian? Like, I thought you were blessed. I thought you were blessed that everything that you're going through, like, in your life was perfect and everything worked. You had nothing bad ever going on in your life. Right?
That's a lie.
That's a lie. Kids, out of the mouth of a kid. So here's my title of my message today. Okay, my rant is over, and my title is this: Being known through your struggle. Through your struggle. So I get it right now, alright? I'm sharing that through your struggle, and you guys are all like deer in the headlights. Like, really, we're at church, and we're going to talk about our struggle? Like, I didn't come to church today to be like, yes, we're at church, and we're going to talk about everything that's bad. We might struggle. Right? Like, that's something to get excited about. Let's share that with our neighbors. Hey, man, I went to church today. We talked about everything I'm struggling with. That's scary stuff, right? It's like, I don't want to talk about this. I'm trying to be you guys. I don't want to talk to people about my struggle. I don't want to do that. It's just like I was talking about resume. The biggest thing is, we want to share all the good. All the greatness, and we want people to like us and to know us through all of our good stuff. And let them make the as everybody does, make the judgment on us based off of our good stuff and not our bad stuff and the stuff that we fail at. Because I'll even say it, every single one of us in this building at one point and at one time has judged the person next to you. You can tell me over and over and over you have not. But I can tell you right now, in some way, some shape or form, you have. Why? Because that's our nature. Now, we have Christ and we do things a little bit better and we try to be a little bit different. So we start playing that judgment that we're like, no, I'm not going to judge somebody on that. I'm going to hold back that thought and I'm going to get to know the person before I actually get to judge them. We do it. Right? It happens. I'm not perfect. Brian, I judged you the day I met you. Robin, oof. No, I'm just kidding.
Everybody else does.
Everybody else does. I might as well, right? But here's why. It's because that's what we're used to doing. That's life. That's the way that we've done it, right? For all of our life. We want to reveal the good, but not the worst. We want to share the good stuff, not the worst seasons, not the bad thing that's happening. We don't want to do that because it doesn't make us feel good. That being said, this morning I want to offer you 2 encouragements, or challenges, if you will, to you because we all struggle. We all fall short. And the messed up thing in our lives are opportunities. Let me put it this way. The messed up things in our lives, the way, all the struggles and all the things, right? These are opportunities for both growth and deep connection to God and to each other. We talk about family all the time. That this is a family and this is a family, right? Well, I share everything with my family. You can talk to my family like he talks too much. My wife will tell you he doesn't stop talking. I talk in my sleep. I talk during the day. I talk when I'm in the car. I talk when I'm in the shower. It doesn't matter where I'm talking. I talk in my sleep. Yes, kids. Ask mom. I talk in my sleep. So James, right? We're going to go to James and we're going to start there. So James is known as one of the pillars of the church. Paul, who wrote a huge chunk of the New Testament, tells us how we should be known in struggle and how we should handle struggle. Both James and Paul talk to us about this struggle in life, how we should be handling. So we're going to take a look at these 2 verses that I have set up here. One for each. One from each. One from James, one's from Paul. So we're going to navigate through this thing called struggle. So if you go with me first to James chapter 5, we're going to go to verse 16. And it says this: confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. So first things first, this verse is part of a process. And this is what James is telling us. Part of the process for dealing with struggle or getting to the place where we can be healed is actually confession. It's confession. I get it. I pray to God every day, and I ask for forgiveness for my sins, and I do that. And that is great, and that is wonderful. But I sit here and think, like, included on me when I dig into this scripture, the Catholic Church. Right? They have confession time. They have the priest there. And why is that? So that you can come in and you can be real and you say, hey, you know what? I messed up. And I did this. But we, all the time, like, oh, you know what? I'm gonna confess to God. I'm gonna have confession with God. And that's the only person I'm gonna confess my faults to. What happens when all you do is confess all your faults to God is that you do the same thing the next day. But if you start confessing to your friends and to your family and to your things, then you have some accountability. And then you have somebody who gets to know you and digs into your life, and they're a part of your life. And then when you decide that you need some help, you call them and they pick up the phone and they say, hey, how's it going? Hey, what can I do for you? But if you keep all your stuff inside, you don't have that relationship. Am I too loud, Larry?
What?
Am I loud? You were grabbing your ears. I didn't know if I was being too loud.
You're all right.
All right, I'm good. This is why, like, so much if you look in the world today and all around, in every country in this world, there's a counselor, there's psychiatrists, there's all these things. Why? Because people have messes in their life. And so that's why we have them. And we go to them to share with them because there's no judgment. Because it's easy. Right? But the people who can really help you are the people we choose to hide it from. I mean, we talk about we're family, but we hide all of our stuff from people. But we need these places where we can go. We need a place that we can share and that we can talk and what is going on with us so that we can get over this hump and get through these things that are holding us back. The challenge is that when we have struggles, right? When we have struggles, we do the complete opposite. We hide our stuff. But James says that we should confess. That we should confess, and he says that we should pray. Without the confession, the power, this is what I believe is this. Without the confession, the power of prayer cannot penetrate the problem. If you will not admit the problem that you're having, how is prayer supposed to help? And secondly, sometimes our struggle is not the result of our sin. It just isn't. There's this thing called life, and life does just happen. Right? It happens to all of us. I know a lot of us have said or think or even believe that if something bad happens to me, there must be sin in your life. Or some sort of disobedience for all the stuff happening to you. Sometimes it's just life. You can even see this, right? So even the disciples had this perception, this perspective at one point as well. So in John chapter 9, and I didn't give this to Richard, so it just comes up. They come across a blind man, and they ask Jesus, who sinned? Was it this man, or was it his parents? That he's blind. And Jesus said, neither. It's an opportunity for God to be glorified. So when stuff is happening to somebody that you know, it doesn't mean that they're necessarily living in sin or they're being disobedient. Sometimes it's just life. When you drive across country with an old camper and tires blow, it's not because you're disobedient. It just happens.
Sure about that?
Maybe. Maybe I'm wrong.
Because you didn't check the tires.
I didn't check the tires. So here's the thing. Whether the struggle is a result of our sin or whether it's a result of just life, it is still an opportunity for God to be glorified. So James is saying when it comes to the idea of struggle, we must confess. And the second thing I want to share with you is what Paul says. Paul writes in Galatians 6, Chapter 6, verse 2. Carry each other's burden, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. In the Greek, this is what it says. Carry literally means to personally take on or to lift up literally or figuratively. Here's the reason why this is a challenge. We've all got our own messes, right? We've got our own problems and our own struggles and our own things. Why would I want to take on somebody else's? Why? Right? I got my own burden. Somebody else. Are you crazy? Like, what is Paul really thinking at this point? I think Paul's a little... No, Paul knows the truth. He knows. Why? Because he's lived it. I mean, we've got it hard enough. We have a hard enough time managing our own lives and our own stuff, right? So how can we actually pick up somebody else's stuff? How can we do this? It's just too much. But James and Paul are telling us that when the struggle breaks out in our lives, we've got a twofold obligation: to confess and to carry. So I was thinking about these two things, right? So confess and carry. And as I begin to think about it, it came to me that one of the reasons why this is so hard is because it's the opposite of the world that we live in. We live in this world that has a mindset of conceal and carry. Right? We want to conceal all our stuff. A world, right? We rather hide our struggle and carry it ourselves because it is a self-defense approach. And that approach keeps others at a distance, and it blocks deeper connection to God and even deeper connection to each other. But Paul and James are telling us to confess and carry because it is how we get healed and fulfill our obligation to be helpful. Now, I understand it. I'm standing up here saying, hey, confess your stuff. Hey, just confess. Just do it. But I get it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it is easy. At all. Right? And I get it, however, However, if you're being held back, if you are struggling with some anxiety, if you are just struggling with life and you need some healing, here's where you begin. If your wife, if your spouse, if your kids are struggling with stuff, this is where it begins. Because what happens when you start holding all that stuff and it weighs you down? The gases build up, and it's harder to walk, and it's harder to do things. You hold it in, and it just pulls you down, and then you start looking at every negative thing, and you forget about all the good. And all the great stuff, and all the good stuff that's coming out of it. And the holidays that are coming up, you forget about all the joy that comes with this stuff. I mean, I love getting presents. Right? I mean, presents are awesome. That gives me some joy. Just so you all know, Christmas is coming up. You get me presents. Just kidding. I love them. But if I focus on everything that's bad, the food wasn't good. Oh, my family can't come because of COVID. Oh, I got to do this by Zoom just to have Christmas with my family. Oh, I'm missing my family. If we start focusing on all that stuff, it's just going to weigh us down from the true joy that comes from the holidays. How about being happy that, hey, we have the internet to where we can Zoom with our family? We can have international relationships because we are able to communicate through internet. I mean, there's some joy in that. Is it great that the person that you're in love with is in an entirely different country? Absolutely not. But you do what you can do. And that's what you focus on instead of the distance. You guys hear me? I mean, I get it. Who wants to burden other people? Who wants to burden and share their stuff with other people, right? But we are working on being known to your people. The homework assignment that we had about a month ago was about bringing up a bunch of things, 5 things that make you you, right? Whether they're good, they're bad, or indifferent. They're who you are. They're who created you to be who you are today, who's sitting in here. That was the assignment, and it was to share it with somebody other than your spouse. Why? So you can truly be known by that person. Because what has happened to you in the past it reflects who you are today, but it doesn't make you who you are today. When I say that, it doesn't matter what happened in the past. Yes, it can matter what happens in the past. But really, what matters is how you hold it. And how you carry it. And how you've gotten past it. And how you're walking in the grace and the love of Jesus Christ.
Yes.
From the midst of that problem and that issue, or even the good stuff. That's what matters. When I say it doesn't matter what happened, it doesn't. What matters is how you carry it. And part of carrying it is even this. If it's the bad stuff, it's the good stuff, it doesn't matter. Confession. Like when I want somebody to come up and talk to me and share with me, I don't necessarily want you to share your struggles. I want to hear the good and the bad. I want to be with you and help you, and I want to celebrate with you. And I'm hoping that everybody here today and everybody listening to this is the same thing. They want to be there no matter what. They want to celebrate. They want to help. Right? I mean, life can be overwhelming when we don't prepare for it. It just happens. It's like when you watch the weather and it calls for rain, so you grab your umbrella, right? But then it's not rain. It's like this torrential downpour. This is life. And if you would have known that this torrential downpour was going to happen, you would have brought your rubber boots and you would have brought other clothes and you would have been all prepared for it. But you weren't. But life happens. And then we just don't share it with people. And we don't get caught up in it because you might look at me in a bad way. I think about driving up to the gas pump and you've had a bad day and then you go to put in your Quick Trip honor card or member card or whatever, and a stupid thing don't work, and you put it in there like 3 or 4 times, and then it says put your credit card in, and then it still doesn't work, and then you drop a couple 4-letter words at the stupid gas station. This is not experience. I don't do this stuff. Are you sure? For my kids. But we do that, right? Because why? Where do I explode at? Because if you can imagine that people that are sitting at that gas station see me yell and scream at this stupid gas pump because it's not working to get my membership reward, they're all like, "You see that guy? Look at." Yeah. I don't worry about their judgment, but I worry about yours. Even standing up here today, like I'm concerned. I don't want to come up here and I don't want to put you to sleep. I don't want to bore you. I don't want you guys to be like, "Oh, Pastor Luke shouldn't be a pastor." Yeah, he has no idea what he's doing. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'll be the first one to admit I don't know what I'm doing. But I don't ever want to fail, and I worry about that. And so then I do all the things that I can. I try and I push myself to admit the things that I'm falter at, even when I'm standing up on this platform. Why? Because I don't want you guys to think I'm perfect, because I'm not. I'm far from. I don't want you to hold me higher than anybody else. I don't feel that I am above anybody just because I have the title of a pastor. Even when I address myself, what do I say? "Hey, I'm Luke." Right? Like, I do my best to be that one. But let me just go on this route, right? Let's just talk real quick about some of the things that prevent us from confessing and carrying burdens. And I'm just going to give you a few. I know there's a lot of them, but number one, the first one that I thought that really came to mind, even for myself, is fear. It's fear. Right?
Yes.
We fear, how will people look at me? What are people going to think about me? We make decisions based on what people are going to think about us, and we don't even know what they're going to think about us, but we decide for them. We're so afraid of being ourselves and to just do as we should because we are afraid, because we have fear. And this is probably why even a lot of us apologize a lot. Before we even start, we apologize. You've heard me in messages, and I'm sorry I messed that up. We apologize because we're so worried what people are going to think. Have you ever done this one? Hey, I apologize. Like, here's the truth, right? I'm afraid not to live up to people's expectations for me, so I've already talked about that. And this is going on, you know what? I'm going to get off my notes. Here's where we apologize. We do this. Hey, I'm sorry, but I got to tell you something, and it's not good. Remember do that? Hey, I got something to tell you, but let me apologize before I tell you. Why? To try and make it better on them? To try and prepare them for the bad news you're about to give them? Right? I mean, we do all this apologizing. For what reason? Because we're afraid we're going to hurt their feelings, or we're afraid that they're going to judge us. And we're afraid of what they're going to think about us. That's our fear. But fear is also the reason we lie. We're afraid out of the reaction to truth, or we feel like our own story is not good enough. So we embellish. I believe God knew we would be this way. I mean, you see it all over Scripture. Fear not. Fear not. Because God knew that we were going to be afraid, and we were going to fear this, and we were going to fear that. And He says, fear not. I have you. And I believe God knew this. The fear keeps us hiding, but Jesus said the truth will set you free in John chapter 8. Here's the problem with the truth. It doesn't always make us feel good. So we don't opt to go in the direction, because I think in that moment, we are more interested in feeling good than being free. Jesus is interested in us being free. Jesus looks at down the road, not the right now. And we're so stuck in not now that here's my barrier, here's my wall. I got to tell you something completely different. I got to embellish the story because, it's not good enough. Right? We all do this. Number 2, the other thing that holds us back as a barrier is shame. Shame. This is a big one. Shameful for the things that I've done. Shameful for the thoughts that I've had. Shameful for the thoughts I currently have. Can't tell people about it because I'm ashamed of it. I'm ashamed of it in myself that if I tell somebody about it, man, they're just going to nix me as any part of their family, friendship, anything, right? Shame. It's horrible. I've heard it this way. Shame is an unspoken epidemic in our culture. Unspoken. We're in a pandemic right now, so here's an epidemic. Think about right now, all the shame that's happening in houses for people. They're bored. They're stuck at home. They can't do things. Think about all the stuff that they're doing. Could be good, could be bad. But here's the truth. I believe that shame is a megaphone for negative self-worth. You are a mess. You are not good enough. Who do you think you are? That is what shame tells us, and it's holding our healings hostage. Fear and shame. Okay, so think about it this way. Recovery programs. Now, I've never been in a recovery program. I don't ever plan to be in a recovery program. But I know some people who have been, right? Like AA, what was the other one? Celebrate Recovery, and there's numerous ones out there, right? Why are these effective? Why? Because they promote a community of people who are striving after the same thing. Just like a church, a community of people who are striving after the same thing, Jesus Christ. Right? It's a community of people who are sharing their life Their good days and their bad days. Their struggles and their problems, and they're celebrating their recovery process. They work because they have support. Just like in a church, we talk about family and we have support. If you want to get to your healing, if you are sick and you're struggling, if you have anything bad, you want to get there, it starts to the point of where you start confessing all those things that you're holding in. That's where it starts. Shame needs 3 things to survive: secrecy, silence, and judgment. When it comes to judgment, we are the biggest critics of ourselves. It is in us. It's our voice judging ourselves. Think about it. Secrecy, silence, very similar. Judgment on yourself. I can't share that with people because they would look so bad on me. They look so down on me. Right?
Yes.
So how do we do it? How do we overcome barriers like fear and shame? And here's what I've gotten. We need to enter into an unconditional, loving community. And we need to show that we are unconditional, loving community. We have to find a place that we can be comfortable in. First off, this is available in Jesus. Don't get me wrong. It is always available in Jesus. And it is also available in other people, the people who know the truth. Sitting here today, you are people who know the truth. You know the truth that lies in Jesus Christ. And it says this, once we find it in 1 John 4:8, it says this, once we find, let me go into that one more. Once we find those people in that perfect community, this is what comes. Perfect love expels all fear. So we have to engage, so we have to experience the perfect love that will keep that fear out. In 1 Peter 4:8, it says, love covers a multitude of sin. So we have to engage in this authentic, unconditional, loving community so that stuff can get rooted out. So that all of our people at our church can get healed. So that everybody can stop struggling and stop hurting. We have to find a place of unconditional love. Barriers to confession. Insecurity. I get it. A lot of us right now probably feel we're not qualified to listen and respond to people's issues. I'm not qualified to take on the burden of somebody else's. Because I didn't go to school. I didn't study that. I have my own problems. I'm not qualified to. I'm in a mess. My life is a mess, so I'm unqualified to help your mess because my life is a mess. These are things that we tell ourselves, right? The truth is this. I feel this way all the time. I mean, we were not taught in seminary. Like, I was not taught when I went to seminary. Right, Larry? Were you taught in seminary? If somebody comes with you with X, Y, Z, you got to respond with A, B, and C? Huh?
Sure.
Yeah, you were? Well, your seminary was better than mine, apparently, because I was not. I don't have an answer for everything, and I don't expect you guys to have an answer for everything. But here's the deal. You don't have an answer for everything. What you have is you. A lot of times, a lot of issues and a lot of things that people are struggling with is the fact that they feel alone and that people don't want to listen to them. And what I'm saying is be present. You can be insecure all you want, but the truth of the matter is you just need to be present in their life. What does that mean? What does that look like? That means when the phone rings, you don't say, oh, I'm too busy for that guy. Oh, they got too much drama in their lives. I can't answer the phone. It drives my wife nuts. My phone rings and I answer it every single time. Doesn't matter what we're eating dinner and my phone rings and I answer it. She's like, really? We're eating dinner? I have to learn when it's appropriate to answer the phone. You know, I'm not saying that every time you call me, I'm going to answer the phone, because I'm learning how to be appropriate with my family. But the truth of the matter is, if you start avoiding people, you're going against what the Word of God says. That's a little scary if you think about it, because I guarantee you right now, every single one of you guys have somebody's name that popped up in your brain, like, oh, I avoided that guy the last time they called, or that girl, because I didn't want to deal with what they had, because I know they got a mess. Right? We do that. But guess what? That's confession right there for you. There's your first confession. I can tell you right now, I'd give you a name, but I'm not going to. Yes, I have avoided somebody. I have done that. Why? Because it's inconvenient. Sometimes people call and it's inconvenient. Sometimes in the middle of a mess of my own, I have 3 girls at home. I have messes. I have things that I got to deal with them. There's this school that they're doing all virtually now, and I have to deal with some of that stuff, and I can't answer the phone because their stuff is more important. I know they have a mess, this and mess. It's not a quick phone call. I do that. I've done that. And I'm trying to be appropriate, right? And then the problem I have is if I don't answer the phone, I forget, and I forget to call the person back, even though I intended to. That happens. It's inconvenient, it's messy, but here's one thing I want to take you guys to Mark chapter 2. And this is where I'm going to end here in a little bit. Mark chapter 2, 2 through 5. And this is what it says. I'm going to give you an example of the Bible where people felt that their mess was less than somebody else's mess. And they inconvenienced themselves. So it says this: they gathered in such large numbers that there was no room left. And we're talking about Jesus, and he's preaching at somebody's house. Not even outside the door. Like, he was preaching the word to them, and some men came, bringing to him a paralyzed man, carried by 4 of them. So 4 people chose that this guy's mess is more important than my mess. The guy picked up the phone, his cell phone, he's dialing the phone number, and one guy picks up the phone, "Hey, what's up? How can I help you? You want a what? Yeah, let me get 3 other guys because I can't carry you myself. And we'll go to Jesus." Then they get to Jesus and they can't even see him because they're so far away and there's so many people who want Jesus. And one guy gets the idea of this: hey, let's climb up on the roof and let's lower him through the roof. Right? And the other 3 guys are like, yeah, let's do it. That'll be awesome. That'll be great. Let's go. You know, so they climb up on this roof of this hut, of this house, and they start ripping back all the roofing and everything else. They start lowering this guy in, and Jesus sees it. And what does he say? By their faith. Not by the paralyzed man's faith. By their faith. All of them. This is why it's important that we have to be present, because by your faith, somebody else can get their healing. It's not always about their faith. It's not about that person's faith. Sometimes it's about your faith and your belief. And you can't have that with somebody if you ignore the phone call. You guys understand? Being present is the biggest thing. You may not have the answers, but being present is more than enough. To have support and understanding can be more than enough for anybody. So as we sit here through this series about being known to people, that includes our struggle, that includes our problems, that includes our issues, because you can't give them a portion of you and expect them to know all of you. Picking up burdens, helping them with being a part of that burden, is being present. Listening to what they have to say. That's what Paul is talking about. what James is talking about. So as you go out this week and you go out going forward, now you know, now you've been told. Don't hide it. Don't hold it all in. Share it. Confess it. Chase after your miracle, after your healings. And don't be afraid. And by golly, my kids love it when I say that. Pick up the phone. I'm not saying that because I called some of you and you didn't answer the phone. I know you all answer when I call. But pick up the phone for that person that you've been avoiding. Pick up the phone for that family member that might be just a little crazy. Show some love. And be there. Be present. So let's pray. I know we have coffee and we have cookies out there. So stick around afterwards. You can go ahead and shut that off. So Heavenly Father, today